Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. My name is Gail Sylvia Pullen. I'm here in beautiful, rainy Ohio in the United States, and I'm the founder of Girls Fly. And I'm so very proud of our Girls Fly Pakistan team. You have some amazing, amazing leaders, not only in the Pakistan um, Girls Fly community, but in other spaces in the world representing Pakistan through Girls Fly and our affiliates and from Africa, throughout the United States, New Zealand, France, Guatemala, Mexico, all over. So this session today is very important one. And I just want to thank Barack and Aisha, Sabat, and Imrana for their efforts to bring this to you. I'd like to thank Ms. Khan for being here today and tonight, your time, and taking the time to share her knowledge with all of you. And I hope that you'll glean a lot of wisdom and insight toward your own success. I'll turn it over to Barack now.
Thank you so much, Miss Gail. It's always so motivating that you're always here to support us. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. I will introduce the speaker, and I think we can go ahead with it. Unfortunately, the Pakistani audience is always late, but let's not waste the time and commitment of everybody who's here. So to start off our graduate prep series, we're very happy and welcome to introduce Ms. Fatima Ebadat Khan. Ms. Fatima is an educator with an experience in research, education, and curriculum development. And she is particularly the recipient of the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship from the University of Bristol. And she recently graduated with a distinction in Masters in Science in Education Policy and International Development. And she's a very passionate educator. And over the years, she has founded the graduate route, by which she is helping not just hundreds, but thousands of students to craft their best applications and win scholarships all around the world. So thank you so much, Ms. Fatima, for joining us. And I hope this session goes really well. You can take the floor and start the session.
Hi, Barak. Thank you so much. I'm just going to quickly start the session so that we have a little bit of time for a Q&A at the end if there are people who are interested in that. And thank you so much for the lovely introduction. So, guys, just putting it out there once again, I'm Fatima. I'm a Commonwealth Shared Scholar from the University of Bristol, and over the past couple of years, I have worked with a lot of students who have gotten other tier 1 funding like Fulbright, Chevening, Erasmus, and Commonwealth Shared as well. So the biggest thing that sort of goes into making a successful scholarship application is your personal statement. A personal statement basically is the one thing that is on the, it's one of the most important essays that gets you into grad school, right? So what is a personal statement? And I'm putting this question out there because of the fact that when you look at different scholarships and different programs, there are a lot of different names that are being used. For Erasmus in particular, for example, people will ask you for a letter of motivation. The UK likes to ask for personal statements. Other programs like to ask for statements of purpose. So what is the difference between all three of them? I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about this, but I will explain to you what a personal statement. So a personal statement is essentially a written narrative that showcases who you are beyond your grades and test scores. And this is different from, for example, from a letter of motivation, because a letter of motivation is going to have a lot of it's basically going to be linked a lot to your academics, because it's going to show you why, it's going to show the reader what motivated you to come into a certain field. But a personal statement is more personal essentially than a letter of motivation. It will explain your motivations, your goals, and suitability for a program. However, it will do so from a very personal perspective. So it's really sort of a window for you to explain to the reading committee or the scholarship committee why you are a good fit for this program besides your grades. And that's actually a really good thing, because a lot of people have, so for example, for me, I had a GPA of 3.21. And before I applied, I would always think that, okay, because my GPA is just a 3.21 on a 4.0 scale, I don't have a great GPA, and that's why nobody is going to, give me funding for my master's degree. But it was through my essays that I sort of ended up showing the exam, showing, the scholarship committee that I had much more to offer than just grades. So this is the first place where you can sort of show the scholarship committee or the reading committee that you are more than just your grades, and you can actually show that, okay, this is why I'm a good candidate. So uh, this is a really good uh, sort of window into showing the admissions committee what makes you an overall a more holistic candidate, and it helps you, make a more compelling case to get funding for or to get into a program. So the first thing you need to do while you're writing a personal statement is sort of understand what the purpose is. Some programs are going to give you a very strict prompt. Some programs are just going to have a very open-ended thing in which they're going to say that, okay, you have 1,000 words to convince us as to why you're a good fit for the scholarship or a good fit for the program. So this is where a lot of candidates actually get very confused, because the prompt is so open ended. How do they actually approach it? So this is where you need to be doing a lot of groundwork and a lot of research. So the one thing I ask candidates who come to me for mentorship is, I ask them, why do you want to go to this program, and tell me 5 years down the lane, how is this program going to help you in your career aspirations? Sometimes people have like really good, really well-rounded answers about why the program is a good fit for them, but sometimes they have really generic answers that, oh, this university is really ranked very highly in the QS world ranking, for example. And that's where I sort of tell them to stop, and I tell them that, okay, this is not a really good idea for you to apply if the only reason you're applying to the university is because of the ranking. So when you are writing your personal statement, you need to do a lot of research. You need to actually look very deeply within the program and within the faculty and see, um is this faculty, are the people who are teaching there, is the culture of the university that you're applying to, is that a good fit for what you want to do? Then you need to sort of understand that, okay, now if you have all of that ironed out, then you need to sort of demonstrate through the statement, your personal statement, that you are actually prepared for graduate level work. So how do you show this to them? You could be showing this to them through your academic achievements, but also your work achievements. For me, for example, I had graduated like 7 years before I actually applied for a master's program. So Mhm. So it didn't make sense for me to talk about a lot of my academic achievements, because those achievements had happened so far away. There was a very large gap. So for me, I spoke more about my academic achievements. Then I sort of picked unique things and perspectives which were drawing me toward the program that I applied to. So I'll give you my own example. I graduated from the University of Bristol with a master's in education policy. Now, the University of Bristol specializes in something called decolonization, and their department of and they have a very big focus on decolonization with whichever academic department you become part of. So this was something that was really intriguing to me, because I was a student of history, and I had studied a lot of post-colonial history because of the fact that I live in Pakistan. So I sort of ended up linking all of that, and sort of looking at the sort of work that was being done in the Department of Education at the University of Bristol. And I pitched myself as someone who would want to become part of that department because of the work that they had been doing in decolonization and decolonizing the curriculum. So I basically talked about the fact that I would want to learn the theory and the practice as well of decolonization, so that for example, coming from a post-colonial country, I would want to come and implement these principles back in my country, because a lot of my country's education system is still based on the colonial hierarchies that we sort of adopted from the British when we got independence, right? So that is the sort of unique thing that you need to connect with in order to make your personal statement stand out. Also, if there are any questions, I would really appreciate if you could keep sending them in chat, so that so that we can keep answering them. Then a really important thing to do is to tailor your research, is to tailor your personal statement. So each faculty essentially, or each program, has different values and focus areas. A lot of candidates, what they do when they apply is that they sort of take one personal statement and then change around a few words here and there, and they apply using that one personal statement to multiple schools. And what then happens is that they end up getting a lot of rejections, or maybe they'll get in but not get a lot of funding. So that's exactly the sort of practice that you must avoid. You need to avoid generic statements that have a one size fits all policy, right? So over here, I would like to suggest something called the whiteout method. So, for example, once you write a personal statement, the idea is to remove any identifying markers. So, for example, if I'm applying to the University of Bristol, I would remove the name University of Bristol. I would remove the name of the department I'm applying to. I would remove the name of any identifying factors for the university from that. And if I'm still able to fill those blanks in from from the name of another university, and apply and send that personal statement to another university, that means that I have written a bad personal statement, because that personal statement was actually not personalized to fit uh, either of the two universities that I was applying to. So whenever you are applying to multiple universities, make sure that you write personal statements from scratch, because each school has a very different outlook and ethos to how they are going to educate you, right? So for example, a school might have really small classes and seminar groups. Some people might thrive in such an environment. Other people might want a class which is more full, right? So you really need to research on how the school is going to be educating you, and are you a good fit for that system. And those are the things that will ultimately help you write a very good personal statement. And then one general tip that I give to that I give to people is to go beyond the school's website. Get in touch with alumni from that school from LinkedIn. Look at the sort of work that they have been doing, and that will give you a very good idea about the sort of things that the school is teaching you, right? So that is actually very, very important to do. So doing those things, putting that sort of effort and research into your personal statement, is really going to help you later on. So a couple of writing tips. So and this is also, and these writing tips also relate to sort of the structure. Now obviously this will be different for every school, because it's going to really depend on the number of words that you have. But generally, this is one way of writing a personal statement, if that's what you're comfortable with. However, I would want to put this out there. For people who are working with me, people who I am mentoring, I do give them a lot of leeway in how they want to structure their personal statements, because I feel that ultimately we end up writing better that way. So number one, introduction. Your introduction needs to have a very strong problem statement. And a strong problem statement often requires you to have a story behind your interest. So for everyone, for a lot of people, they will have some sort of, aha movement, or like a light bulb moment, through which they sort of decide um that, okay, this is the right field for me, right? So it could be your interest, it could be a very personal story. I have seen candidates use many different um, tips and tricks to achieve this, and I will be sharing a couple of samples with you as well. Then as you move forward, you can talk a little bit about your academic background, your part-time studies. You could then, in the body, you could particularly you should be using the star technique. I'll talk more about this in a little bit, and this will sort of explain to you, explain to the school how you have leveraged the learning that you have for the good of the community, and also help you more effectively show your leadership experience. So the star technique is a technique which helps you show how impactful your experience is. So it's the full form of star is situation, task, analysis, and result. So basically what you do is you explain the situation, then you show what sort of task you did um to mitigate the problem that was part of the situation. Then you analyze it and you sort of explain that, okay, why did this work? And then you talk about it in form of a result, and in a result, and in the result part, it's very impactful if you sort of quantify the result that you got through, for example, through if you quantify it through some statistic. So this gives a very smart and short way in which you can show your experiences in a very impactful light, right? So, and then what you can do is you can give more space over here to your results and actions, and that makes for a very strong scholarship or personal statement. And then at the end, you sort of tie the statement into the intro, right? So this is generally the idea of how you will structure your personal statement. Generally, the biggest issue um, people face um, is how to write a good um, opening paragraph. So I'm just going to explain to you what a good and what a bad opening paragraph looks like. So there are two samples here. I would want you to quickly take a minute to read through this, and then I'll sort of read them over with you as well. So the first sample says, for over 12 years, parent-teacher meetings caused unexplainable anxiety at my home. My younger brother Dash, despite his undeniable intelligence and curiosity, struggled immensely in school. In these meetings, he would only be labeled as inattentive, forgetful, and underperforming. Therefore, when Dash was diagnosed with ADHD, it felt like a revelation. Yet his teachers remained surprisingly indifferent to his needs, constantly comparing him to other students. It was in those moments that I've promised myself that no child should ever be neglected or dismissed because of events beyond their control. So that's the first sample. The second sample: I am a resilient young woman living in a society hostile to women stepping out of their homes, let alone for work. Despite my modest background and the conservatism that surrounds us, I have challenged the expectations that confine women like myself and take up leadership responsibilities to go as far as high crime, disaster hit terrorist areas plagued by fatal diseases such as the Congo virus. In my quest to uplift the lives of my fellow countrymen in dire need, this legacy is passed down from my grandmother, which I wish to carry forward. Okay. So quickly, can someone tell me which sample do they like better?
Sample 2.
Okay, sample two. Anyone else? Great, sample one. Anyone else? Okay, so actually the sample that's the good one is sample one. And I'll explain why. Because sample one takes a very small personal story, and without trauma dumping, it sort of explains what the person's motivation is to apply to that program, right? It takes one thing and runs with it. Sample do two is doing something that we call trauma dumping. So what a lot of people do in personal statements is, and I have seen this particularly, unfortunately, being done by a lot of candidates in Pakistan. What they tend to do is they take every problem that is in Pakistani society and they sort of fill their personal statement with it. And what happens is, like, you have 4 lines of an introduction paragraph, and each line will have a separate issue that they're trying to sort of combat. And that is exactly why sample 2 doesn't work. There's just so much trauma being dumped in it that it is ending up being a very, very garbled opening, which is taking away from the impact. So that's a sample that I flat out rejected the first time I read. Right? So this is something that you should not be doing. Right? So what you need to do is you need to come up with one problem, one personal story, which is very, very relevant to the program that you're applying to, and then you need to run with it. Okay, I see a few questions coming up on chat. I will be addressing these as soon as we are done with the slide deck. So how can the graduate route sort of help you in um coming up with a compelling narrative for a personal statement? So the biggest thing that people struggle with before they start writing is the fact that they don't put enough time in brainstorming. So brainstorming is essentially the crux of what is going to make or break your personal statement. And when I say you need to brainstorm for at least a month, I am not overplaying it. Because ironing down your because brainstorming is what is going to help iron down your narrative, and your narrative is very important. So what grad schools generally do is they put people in buckets. So for example, when I say they put people in buckets, so for example, they're going to say, okay, this person is a female, they're from the global south, they're in Pakistan, and what they are doing is they are particularly working in the field of climate change. But what in climate change, because climate change there are like what 5 6 things just off the top of my head. So for example, in climate change, this person is working on something called SRHR, which is sexual reproductive health rights, right? So this is what they do. So you need to have a very, very narrowed down thing which you will come through your brainstorming, and you need to really narrow down your narrative through it. So what the graduate route sort of helps you do is we will going to help you brainstorm, help you select the right topic, then draft your reviews and help you through a very detailed editing service, then finalize, proofread, and polish. These are just the things that we do for your personal statement, by the way. There's a lot of other things going on. So for example, program selection, guidance, identifying the best fit graduate programs, polishing your CVs, helping you with your letters of recommendation. So it's a very, very holistic service which you can get in touch with us if you are interested in. But right now, I do see some questions on chat, so let's start answering those questions. Okay, so Kashif is asking, how can I make my SOPs stand out from others with similar academic backgrounds? Okay, so Kashif, that is where the brainstorming purpose comes in, right? So a lot of people are going to have similar academic backgrounds, but not all of them are going to have the same experiences, right? So your experiences are basically the thing that are going to make you different from each other. So that is the thing that I was saying when I was talking about the fact that you really need to for example, hang on, talk about your impactful experiences. So that is very, very, very important for you to do. You need to talk about your impactful experiences. You need to talk about stuff that you have done other than your academics. And that is something, particularly people who are applying for bachelor degrees, it's very, very important for them. So make sure that you are doing that. Before I take another question by Kashif, is there any other question that you have, particularly about personal statements? Anyone else? Because I can see only questions by Kashif on chat.
Can I ask one question here? I was
Yes,
going
of
to
course.
type it, but I also have a question and it's related to SOP writing. Um, so my question is, so if someone is trying to apply for a graduate program right after their undergrad and they don't have any such experience because sometimes they would have done any internship and all, but sometimes they also don't have any internship experience as well. So if the SOP is going to be based on an idea for the motivation, would that or does that work as well? And for example, it's the motivation is just idea based and it doesn't come from any kind of experience, but maybe it's linked to the academics and all the things that we might have learned. And it's so, yeah, the question actually is, can it be based on just an idea, uh, which we may not have experienced, but we are going to share it, that maybe is going to be unique? How is that going to work, or is that going to be uh,
Okay.
is that going to make our SOP strong, or should we always have experience linked to it?
Okay. So my like the short answer to this question would be to always have some sort of work experience. I cannot stress enough how competitive work experience makes people for getting into good universities and also getting funding. So, long story short, if you're applying for grad school, particularly if you're looking for a scholarship, absolutely have some work experience. However, if you do want to apply right now and you don't have any experience, then of course you really don't have an option. And you ultimately will have to lean a lot on your academic experiences and stuff that you have done in your undergraduate to make a compelling personal statement. So yeah, I mean, then you really don't have another option. But that being said, I do strongly, strongly, strongly recommend getting work experience. It makes all the difference, because I have seen candidates with very high GPAs get waitlisted in for funding, because of the fact that obviously the scholarship body is going to put their money behind someone they know has delivered already, right? So just keep that sort of thing in mind, because of the fact that if you are looking for um, scholarships, that is really going to make a lot of difference in your application. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Okay. So then Barak has asked, how do you find the unique facts about universities and align them with your interest? Most science programs advocate being interdisciplinary. How can I make an interesting link with my experiences or interests? Okay. Yeah. So this is actually a thing where people really struggle. So this really requires you to get deep within a program's website. So a lot of top tier programs, when you go to their program page or if you go to the department page, they will have like a lot of other smaller links in which they will be talking about the work they've done, the grants they've gotten um for the year, and the sort of and stuff they are doing for white papers, stuff they are doing with the government. So Bharat, that those are the things, are those are the articles are those articles are the things that you need to be reading. So for me particularly, I found out through I found out through the Bristol website about a very interesting research cluster that they have. It's called the Education, Justice and Memory Project. And very luckily for me, the Education, Justice and Memory Project also works in Pakistan. So they have a Pakistan chapter based out of Lums. So I sort of used a lot of work that they were doing, and I was very lucky that a lot of work that I was already doing sort of aligned with the work that they were doing. So if you go deep into a university's page, into a department's page, you will find all of these smaller links which will be signposting you to the sort of work that they are doing. So one place that you can find about these things is over there. Secondly, so if you have shortlisted a program already, so type the name of that program or that scholarship on LinkedIn, and you will find a lot of people that pop up under that program. People who have been to that particular, who have attended that particular course, like in the past couple of years, and you can sort of see the things that they had been doing and the things that have been doing since graduating. So that is a really good starting off place um, to sort of understand, okay, this is the sort of thing that I can be doing to align myself to the program that is maybe my dream program, right? And number three, get in touch with these people. A lot of times if you email people on LinkedIn, they will reply very kindly and will give you like a lot of insight into what the program is about and what are sort of the specialities of that program. So make sure that you get in touch with them. And fourthly, look at the faculty pages and see which faculty is going to be teaching the programs and modules of the program that you're interested in. So once you find the right people who are going to be teaching you, go to their main profiles and see the kind of research they're doing. This will really help you, make up come up with interesting links and very deep insights for your personal statement. So the next question, how do I tailor a single SOP for undergraduate to match different program names? That is something, Kashif, I just said that's a really bad idea to do. You should be writing multiple statements if you're applying to multiple programs. Right? So make sure that each one is tailored to, yes. Kashif, you can speak.
Yes, ma'am. If I want to apply for one program at different university, so how can I tackle this problem? Is it should I write
Yeah.
different SOPs for different universities?
Yes, I would 100% suggest that you apply by using multiple SOPs, because if you just take one SOP and tailor it to different programs, rather than write like a specific, rather than come up with something very unique for each university, then that will be a problem, and your chances of getting accepted or getting funding will lessen.
Yes, ma'am. As I apply for undergraduate, so I don't have like pretty much experience in projects. So how can handle this? We don't have like internships or any other experience. So what should we add in the SOPs to impress the admission committee?
Okay, so Kashif, the short answer for this is to make sure that you do get some internship, get into some internship programs or do some extracurriculars, because these are the kind of things that are going to be, impress the graduate committee, which is going to be looking at your scholarship. Because at the end of the day, your CV is also going to be one of the documents which is attached to your application, right? So your personal statement can only add to your CV, but you need to have like, maybe we can have your question next.
Okay, Fatma, thank you so
Yes,
much for the
Aisha.
wonderful tips. Just wanted to ask, like, can we repeat the information that is in the resume? Because whenever we send resume plus SOP to the alumni, they say like, don't repeat something that is already in the resume. Or what approach should we take? Either should we change the narrative or we shouldn't repeat the stuff. Can you please elaborate on this?
No, yes, of course. Yes, so I completely agree with the alumni. You should not be repeating stuff that's in your CV, because ultimately you have a very small number of words to convince the examiner of why you are a good fit for the university in the personal statement. And if you are just going to be repeating the information that you have in your CV, in your personal statement, then you are not doing justice to the word count. So I absolutely 100% agree that you should not be repeating the information. That being said, your CV has a very broad overview of the sort of things that you have done, right, that you have done in a job. So make sure, so when I say don't repeat, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be talking about specific instances in which you really showed leadership in a particular job. So absolutely take those moments from a job that you did over the course of a year or 2 years, and talk about those unique experiences in detail in your personal statement. So for example, I had one mentee who is inshallah going to be going on Chevening this year, and she had done one job for 4 years. About She had been in the same job for 4 years. So rather than repeating that information, what she did in her SOPs was she took instances from that job in which her leadership experience really shone through, and she used those experiences to write her personal statements, right? So you need to pick and choose the experiences from one overarching job, which really which are sort of going to compel the admissions committee to see that, okay, this person did this job, but okay, in this instant, this person, for example, showed a lot of bravery, resilience, and leadership potential. So this is why we should put our money behind this person. Great. Anyone else? We are on our final stretch of 5 minutes. So any last questions, anything that you'd like to me to elaborate on? I would love to talk more if it could help someone.
Ma'am, could you please explain the leadership skills? How can we get like, and how can we add in the SOPs?
Okay, so your leadership skills can be anything that, in any initiatives that you have sort of done in schools or colleges, or anything that you have done in your job. It could also be something that's completely unrelated. So, for example, a friend of mine applied to a program at Oxford a few years ago. And for her leadership essay, what she talked about was the fact that when she had been in university, she had broken her leg, right? And because of that, of breaking her leg, there was a period of 6 months and for those 6 months she was in a wheelchair. So she said that I realized that my campus was actually so disability unfriendly. So what I did was I pushed and I pushed and I pushed for the administration to at least put ramps in the entire university. And at the end of the year, the admin sort of they said that yes, you're right, and so they put ramps in front of every building. Now this is a very small thing, and you think that, okay, this is not like a real leadership potential, leadership experience, but this actually shows a lot of initiative. She didn't get any shield or medal. She didn't get any sort of recognition, but this experience showcased that, okay, she has the ability to lead because of the fact that she made actual tangible change happen within a university, right? So these are the kind of things that you can talk about. Anyone else? If there's nothing else, then maybe we can wrap the session up.
Fatma, I got one question. Whenever we are
Yeah.
writing applications for the grad school, I have always this question in my mind, like whether should I add my personal experiences on that, or should I mainly focus on my technical skills on the research I really want to pursue over there? So, is it okay if I add some personal experiences over there too, and then connect it? Let me give you an example. I wanted to explain,
Hmm.
like I did this technical project that shows my technical ability, but at the same time I want to show my leadership skill over there, and then want to tell, like, keep on under this mind that made me interested in that research, and I think I can perform well in the research group. So or should I like really focus towards more technical stuff?
So based on the prompt, Aisha, you should absolutely focus on the personal bits as well. If it's a personal statement, absolutely focus on the personal bits. I hope that answers your question.
I also have a question.
Yes.
असल में बात ये है कि आई एम इन फोर्थ सेमेस्टर और मेरे जो फ्यूचर प्रोस्पेक्ट्स हैं उसमें ये है कि मैं स्कॉलरशिप पे जाना चाहती हूँ एंड आई वांट टू प्रिपेयर फॉर इट सो आपने अभी जो हम इस मीटिंग के अंदर एक मेंबर था उन्होंने बात की कि वर्क एक्सपीरियंस अगर नहीं है तो व्हाट कैन आई डू इन दीज 2 years so that I won't be facing that kind of problem like कौन कौन से leadership roles etc जो आप बात कर रही हैं I can participate in. It's not really related to SOP, but
Of course, of course. I'm sure your university has a lot of opportunities to do this. So you can get into extracurriculars, you can get into community development. Basic चीजें होती हैं कुछ that people organize. So for example, you can organize like after school um educational circle for क्या कहते हैं for children who don't have access to education. You can organize any sort of mentorship thing within your communities or within your schools which you can talk about in which you can talk about in your application, but also keep an eye out for fellowships. There are a lot of undergraduate fellowships. For example, क्या कहते हैं millennium fellowship होती है. These are exchange programs. There are some exchange programs like SUSI. I won't say UGrad anymore because UGrad scrap ho gaya hai. But there are definitely a lot of opportunities for extracurriculars within क्या कहते हैं undergraduate that you can pursue. I can't like give you a lot of opportunities because I don't know where you're from and I don't know a lot about your context. But if you do want some personalized help with this, you can like find the graduate route online and someone will get in touch with you and explain to you कि क्या चीजें की जा सकती हैं. So yeah. But guys, please keep an eye out on undergraduate opportunities. There's stuff like the Millennium Fellowship. There's stuff like SUSI, which is an exchange semester with in the US. Then there are also a lot of remote fellowships and internships which are actually popping up aajkal because it's almost time for summer break, and a lot of these internships are, since they're remote, you can absolutely do them from your house without actually stepping out, and all of this will really help improve your chances of getting a scholarship in grad school. Anything else? Anyone else?